Okay.
We have decided to dedicate a portion of our budget for at least the next 5 years to the creation and addition of art to our church building, and we'd like to explain why. First of all, in the Great Commission, we are told to go and make disciples of every nation. And every nation means every culture. And art is a huge part of our culture and how a lot of people communicate. So it's important to be able to communicate in culture and in a way that is relevant and productive in our culture.
And also in 1 Corinthians 9:20, Paul said, "To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law." And so even if we may not be an artist, we need to reach out to those who are artists. So even though Paul was not himself under the law, he still became like one under the law to win those people. So even though we, like I said, we're not artists, we still want to reach out to those who are artists in the community and speak to them in the name of Christ.
And like Nicole was saying, art is a form of worship, and some people, that is their primary avenue to worship the Lord. And so we want to be cognizant of that, and we want to be able to give them an avenue in our church building where they can appreciate art and experience truth and beauty through art. Art is able to speak the things that words cannot speak. Art is able to communicate the ineffable, the things that we feel because of our faith and our trust in the Lord that we can't really communicate through our words or in any other way. So art allows people to do that, and some people really connect with art, whereas others may not. And we are aware of that, but we also want to make sure that we are providing opportunities for those who do connect well with art to be able to appreciate art in that way.
Also, art speaks to us about God's nature and His creativity. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them." So, God is a creative God, and He created us to be creative beings and to express ourselves and worship Him through creativity. And so, incorporating art into our church and worship is a way of understanding this nature of God in a new way.
We are trying to communicate specifically to adults and to the youth, but children are also benefit. Our goal is to incorporate both artwork that is specifically religious and those that are so-called secular, because God does not limit Himself to the religious community, and He doesn't limit Himself to religious artwork. He can express beauty and truth through so-called secular works as well. And we don't want to limit our church to something that is just inside the church. So we don't want our works to only be religious, because that isn't communicating well to those who may have feelings towards the church that are hurtful because Christians have not opened their doors and their hearts and their lives to them in a way that shows Christ's love. And so we want to be the opposite of that, and we want to provide an environment where we're not just shoving Jesus down people's throats. We want to be able to communicate to them in a way that is relevant to them and where they are in their life.
We have looked closely at the budget to find the best way to fund the arts we are integrating into the church. Our budget plan covers a 5-year span, and in the first 5 years we'll be taking $500 from the fellowship dinners, which adds up to $2,500 over the 5 years, leaving $200 in the fellowship dinners, which will then become potluck dinners. And for the first 2 years we'll be taking $2,000 from the youth ministry, and for the 3 additional years after that we will be taking $1,000 from the youth ministry. This leaves $8,000 in the youth ministry while taking out $7,000 for the art program. We are taking a total of $9,500 out of our budget, which will leave us $200 over our income level. In order to cover this cost, we will be taking $1,000 from the $9,500, which leaves us with $8,500 specifically for our art program.
We are planning on decorating church halls with original pieces of art from around $50 to $200, each painted by local and student artists. These pieces will be approximately 18 by 24 inches. Although as we get more pieces, the sizes may vary to create more visual interest. Our plan is not to only provide religious works but also secular works that display the truth and unity of creation along with the new art for the halls. The board have decided to provide 3 new pieces that will approximately be 3 by 4 feet. One for the sanctuary, one for the youth ministry, and the last one will just have the purpose of moving things around and changing things around just to make them more beautiful. The hall decorations are going to be secular and as well as religious to relate with the outside world to make our guests and visitors who are not non-Christians especially more welcomed. And this is a way of linking them and getting them into our Christian world. And while the main 3 pieces are going to be more, and I mean specifically they're going to be religious, and this is going to be a different experience for them and make the place a beautiful place.
Our first project will be a church-wide mosaic. The mosaic will be displayed in our church's foyer. You as the congregation will be asked to bring in a piece of glass, pottery, plastic, or fabric to add to the mosaic on the day that we put it together. The mosaic is going to display to all who come into our church that we are a united church body even though we are all different.
We hope this has enabled you to see the importance and value of art in the church, and that you can see that the financial side of this has been well thought out. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact the church secretary, any staff members, or any members of the board.